Hello everybody and welcome to our second episode of the Total Podcast. Today we have got our very own Jessica Oates, our Senior Business Development Manager, and we've also got Ryan Hill, our Skills Coach for the Employability Practitioner Level 4 and many others.
Indeed, many of the professional service apprenticeships, yeah.
Absolutely. So today's whole podcast is going to be tailored around our Level 4 Employability Practitioner. We're going to go into a little bit about the course, why someone might be interested in the course. We're going to look at some of the benefits of completing it, so it might be why an employer wants to do it, why a learner wants to do it, and it might also be around some testimonials that we have and good news stories and all that good stuff. So stay tuned for the rest of the episode. We're just going to do a quick overview of our beautiful guest today. We're going to have a little bit of an introduction. So Jess, if you want to give a little bit about your role, what do you do at TTP here?
So as Beth said, I'm the Senior Business Development Manager here, and I look after the apprenticeship section of our course offerings here at TTP. So we offer a range of different apprenticeships. So we have a range of business and professional apprenticeships. So we are starting off this episode, like Beth said, with our Level 4 Employability Practitioner, and each month we will be looking at two different apprenticeships, doing a little spotlight on our different apprenticeships that we offer here at Total Training. So like I said, we've got our range of business and professional apprenticeships. We also have hairdressing and barbering, we have early years, and we have our housing and property management.
Amazing. Lovely, thank you for that, Jess. And Ryan, if you want to give us a little bit of information about yourself, what's your role here at TTP? What is it that you do on a day-to-day?
My name's Ryan Hill, and I am a skills coach for the professional services apprenticeships. Every day I get the luxury of seeing learners through their journey in education, in particular this time round in employability. Again, we're going to cover what skills are gained within that apprenticeship, and again why learners might want to do that to progress their careers.
Amazing. So I think probably the first question for a lot of people, not sticking to script here, is what is the Employability Practitioner Apprenticeship? Because for some people, I feel like that's just a name, they don't really know what that is. So, to either of you?
Yes, so the Employability Practitioner Apprenticeship is mainly for anyone who deals with initial assessments, diagnostic assessments, identifying barriers, looking at interventions to get people into sustainable employment, offering in-work support once that has been achieved to keep them in employment. We do that through addressing a variety of skills, looking at CPD, and again how that can benefit the company, but also the learner, and how we can branch out to offer further support by personalising that service to each individual.
Lovely. And is this, you're quite new to the skills coach role, obviously. How are you finding it, delivering it and working with the learners?
I really enjoyed working with employability, so to be able to now deliver it and also still get the second-hand experience of hearing how employability professionals are helping their participants through their journeys. It's like double bubble, because I also get the experience of seeing learners succeed while hearing about their participants succeeding as well. It's really lovely. I think it is quite easy to say that it is my favourite apprenticeship that I deliver.
And what other apprenticeships do you deliver?
So I do the Learning and Skills Mentor, which is level 4, which is probably my second favourite. I do ODM, Operations Departmental Managers, I do Team Leaders, I do Business Admins, Customer Service, and that's about it really.
Do you know what would be really funny? Have you seen those things online where they do the ranking? So from the top to the bottom, what they think? We should do that with all the skills coaches, what they think in terms of their favourite one to deliver and the worst one. So I think it'd be quite interesting. Obviously all of them collectively are great qualifications, but people have their preferences. So I think that'd be quite interesting. Lovely. So you've talked about some key skills in regards to what they might learn, but what kind of industries do you think, it might be one for you, Jess, is the employability practitioner good for?
So we have a number of different partners that again work on getting people into sustainable employment. We work with Maximus, the DWP, a number of different job centres. We work with Ingeus, the Growth Company, all of these companies that specialise in taking people from benefits to the labour market. And again, just to focus on that fluffy side of it, where it is very rewarding morally to be able to do that.
Amazing. So what are some of the key skills and knowledge that they will take away from the apprenticeship, like specifically?
Things that the learners get from it is mainly, I would say, the CV writing, the interviewing techniques, the different types of profiling their participants, and not just looking at their skills but also their hobbies and their interests, and addressing that in moving into their career with something that they enjoy doing. Obviously, if you're doing something you enjoy, you're going to be more successful, you're going to be more into it, and it feels less like work.
Yeah, absolutely.
Breaking down those barriers for them to work out why they're perhaps not in the correct industry or the correct job, or why they're not in work, and where they can.
Yeah, this is. Sorry, Jess. There's the big, the big thing on SWOT analysis. So the strengths, the weaknesses, opportunities, and threats. But not just looking up, in terms of as an individual, but also looking at the values, the beliefs, the everything behind the organisation as well, and how that mirrors within their employees, the company itself, and also how that can go across to the actual participant then as well to get the best outcome for all.
Oh, that was very, very in depth. I quite enjoyed that.
I think one thing I didn't mention as well is the careers information, advice and guidance. Obviously, we look at different feedback techniques and methods in being able to deliver that correct information, advice and guidance in getting that participant to be involved. So obviously we work in challenging behaviours, and it might be a case of you've got someone who is quite stuck in their ways and they don't want to change. So again, we focus on that change management and how to offer that information, advice and guidance to take that next step to get them to where they need to be.
Well, I think in this day and age, those is a very important skill set and kind of important experiences to do. Do you do any like role playing or shadowing while you're obviously in the apprenticeship?
Absolutely. A lot of people seem to think that it's a hell of a lot of written assignments, which it can be, and that's absolutely fine if that's the style of learner that they are. But we do professional discussions. We set up tasks to create a presentation and then deliver that presentation. From the very first day on the apprenticeship, what we're trying to do is focus on what's going to come within the endpoint assessment, and by doing those things, we're getting the experience in there to help that person succeed in that end.
Amazing. Seeing as this is the kind of first episode, and obviously some people might not be quite familiar with some of the terms, what is endpoint assessment? Obviously you spoke about it.
So the endpoint assessment is where the... Sorry Jess, was that... the endpoint assessment is where the learner is assessed against the qualification. This is the point where it sounds quite drastic in terms of pass, fail, distinction. But
they put all of their time on the programme into the end, where they can basically show off what they've learned and prove that they can get that grade. And work towards that grade.
Show the skills, knowledge and behaviours, some of the key words there.
Yeah, absolutely. In particular, with the employability practitioner, you've got the knowledge-based elements, so the test. You've got the presentation, and then you've also got the observation, where you're observed dealing with your participants. And again, it's just a great way to demonstrate the skills, the knowledge, the behaviours that you've got. Especially for people that aren't the most classroom based, and again it just channels that whole apprenticeship vibe.
I suppose again, for like as a skills coach, it's nice for you to see them get to that point, because like I said, they're dealing with those participants as well, so you can see how you've taught the skills, knowledge and behaviour for them to be nurturing and supportive for that person, hopefully getting into that different job market.
Again, though, think about that feedback. When one of the best things I get to do is observe a learner in action with their participants, and then be able to offer feedback on how they could have implemented certain methods and techniques that we've gone through. Looking at the grow method, all of those different coaching and mentoring techniques that they implement, and a lot of the time learners are already doing this naturally, and it's putting a name and understanding why they're doing certain things.
absolutely. Because I mean, I'm doing an apprenticeship myself. It's not the employability practitioner, but obviously it's what I do as a job, and you think, oh, I do that every day, but you don't realise what you're actually doing until you start putting in, oh, this is this skill, and writing about it and understanding that you actually do have a process and how you do it, and you do know what you're talking about. So it's quite gratifying to have that. So I completely understand what you're saying there. I know you touched on endpoint assessment, but I'm really going to dig into it. Obviously, you've got your endpoint assessment and your gateway. I think some people get confused in what those are and what all these terms are surrounding apprenticeships. Because usually within college and stuff, you just have your exams at the end of the year. Care to just give a kind of an outline of what the journey might be like? Starting from you, Jess, because the journey would start with you.
It would. So my job role here is to find businesses that are wanting to upskill with their staff to go on to this apprenticeship, and I know at the moment I'm working with a company that's team are going to be going on to this qualification because they are wanting, they've been doing the job role probably now for 15 months, and they're wanting to do this qualification to see that structure put into their role, how else they can help their participants, and what else they can do to achieve their goals with their current caseloads. So at the beginning you'll meet with me or a member of my team, and we will initially do an interview just to check that you are on the right qualification. We find with this qualification, as wonderful as it is, it can be quite a niche qualification, so sometimes your job role doesn't provide you with all of the necessary things to do that. So it might be that you're not actually finding a participant a job role, so they wouldn't be able to do this. But we do have other apprenticeships that you can then do if that is the case. And that is that. And we'll go through the qualification, what you've done, why you want to do it, and again, what you'll be doing is why you want to do it, what do you want to achieve, what are your goals, which, like you said, that's the nicest part of being a teacher or a tutor. You get to see that learner from the very beginning all the way through. So then we do a little bit of enrolment activities. So they're things like skill scans and initial maths and English initial assessments, and your enrolment session. Your enrolment session is a little bit with myself or a member in my team, and then the skills coaches, and they will do your first session and then set up your next sessions, and then you're over to you.
Before we move on to your end, you said a few words there. I'm just digging into it. A skill scan. What does that mean?
So a skill scan basically is given to each learner for each apprenticeship, and looks at what they already know. So it's measuring their starting point, and it's usually assessed at the beginning of the qualification, and then during your qual while you have your Reviews. Thank you. Yeah. And things like that. You will look at where you've started at to where you finish, and again, it's getting that learner all the way through their programme ready for that gateway onto EPA.
Lovely again. Me again. As mentioned, you'll have regular progress reviews with your skills coach, and at that point we will complete what we call a scorecard. And again, that's looking at the things that you've learned within that period, and how we can move on from that and further those skills. So the sessions are generally, they are personalised to each individual. We would have completed a learning styles questionnaire. So generally we use the VARC, which is another thing that you would learn within the apprenticeship. So that figures out whether you are visual, an auditory, kinesthetic, or whether you prefer to read and take that information in. By doing that, we can figure out how best to get your assessments completed, give you the resources that you need to succeed. As well as that, with that personalisation, what we want to do is deliver the sessions and the knowledge, the skills and behaviours, but we also want to contextualise it to your environment. We want to understand the documents that you complete on a daily basis, how that works, looking at the legislations behind it, GDPR, copywriting, anything that might impact your role on a day-to-day basis. And again, we want to try and make the whole experience not just to you as a learner, but to you as a learner within your role, within your organisation, so you can add that value. It needs to be specific and really benefit all involved.
I was going to say, I think for one of my most favourite part of the apprenticeship delivery that we offer here is how bespoke we do make it, and that it can be individual to the learners. I know we're very passionate about giving the skills coaches the times to research what company you're going to, because I'm sure all of the learners you've got, each one is based at a different area, looking after different types of people. It's different per student. So having the time to look at that as a business as well, of how you're going to support it, is great. And I think that's the best thing about our apprenticeships, because they are bespoke, they're work-based, and it's just improving the whole business, not just the learner, isn't it?
I think it does help me with this qualification as well, and I think the reason I enjoy it so much is I did actually work for one of our partners with an employability. So to understand their processes and how they look at things benefits my learners massively, because if they're struggling to give me sort of an idea or an experience that they've had, I'm generally aware of what they might have had to go through in certain situations, and I'm able to help them contextualise.
Yeah.
And I think as part of learning, that contextualisation is something that really does get things to sink in. And
Absolutely, yeah, 100%. I mean, shared some really good points there and given kind of an overview of what the apprenticeship's like, kind of the skills. Obviously we do work closely with the employer and the learner to bespoke the courses that we deliver to make sure they are right fit.
all progress reviews are tri-party, and we, again, while some employers might not attend every session, we do try to keep in contact with every single employer and keep them up to date with where their apprentices are, even to the point of giving them one file access so they can actually check up on their members of staff themselves. Again, by doing that, it's ensuring that if that learner's not asking for it to be bespoke enough and we're not personalising it to their actual environment, that line manager definitely is going to be. I've had line managers who have asked me if I can incorporate sort of small management techniques in ways that they can actually start looking at team leading a small team, and again looking at that IAG and that further progression to next qualifications. You can obviously then look at your ODMs, your team leaders. You can go further forward in terms of levels of education, but you can also take those side steps which pick up different skills as well. And
Absolutely. Well, exactly what you said, because we're a training provider, we deliver a full range of stuff, and we do like to support where we can, whether it's like in certain areas we can offer like mental health first aid in the workplace, to like complement those qualifications to make it full rounded for the individual.
what sets us aside from others though is we're not just interested in shoehorning people into a qualification that we do. We would rather look at that bigger picture and be able to offer the right qualification, the right course for that learner, to really help them grow. And I think by us doing that, it helps us maintain the good reputation that we've got, in caring about our learners.
Oh, you've kind of taken me on to the next point, because I'm going to say in terms of progression, obviously it's key. Once you've done an apprenticeship, they might want to move further. What is some of the standard routes that someone might take after they've done the level 4 employability practitioner, whether it's with us or not?
I think again it's very different, and we are constantly having conversations as skills coach and learners as that sort of relationship in regards to what our learners want to do next. Again, it's not quite employability, but I've got some learning and skills mentors who are coming towards the end of their time, and some of the big conversations are, what can we do next? We're building these relationships, so these learners are actually wanting to continue, and it's such a lovely thing. So we do the coaching professional level 5, which is absolutely phenomenal in terms of looking again at people's behaviours and understanding them, and communicating, being self-aware, and all of those things that sound so simple. But when you think of communication, most people just think of speaking. But when you are speaking, you've got face-to-face, you've got via telephone, you've got digital, you've got body language. And I mean, and when we look at that self-awareness as well, the body language is such a big thing. Obviously, as we're sat here now talking, we've got that open body language, we're all making eye contact, we're all interested in what we're saying. Whereas you're able to then look at your coachee and see if they are actually interested, and if they're not, you can then actually pick that up by knowing that. You've got ODM that you can move on to, so you've got team leaders, you've got that learning and skills mentor, there is a vast array of where you can go with it.
And I think one thing about Total that I think is a really good part of our culture is if we don't deliver it, we can still we'll still find something for the learner. And like you said, we support them as all round, so as reputation, we're supporting them, and our main goal is that they achieve their goals, which is a big thing about Total.
And we've not yet mentioned off the job hours.
You're right, the infamous off the job hours.
A lot of people again think the off the job hours is just the time spent doing the assignments, and it's really not. The off the job hours are what cement that little bit of knowledge into that role, and where they can really showcase the skills that they're using on their role. You know, so if you a lot of the off the job with the employability is different coaching techniques that they might have used with that participant, what methods they've used, what barriers they were up and coming against. You know, if it was someone who was lacking that self-belief, have they used the GROW method to help them feel more confident in what they're doing, looking at motivational interviewing, all of that those different things that we can do to help participants just take that next step.
A lot of the time they're doing their off the job hours, aren't they? And I think sometimes the wording of off the job, I don't know about you, but it does make me feel.
What do you mean?
Yeah.
Off the job hours.
Yeah, a lot of when I'm doing those introductory conversations with businesses and charities and things, they think that it's going to be taking their staff away and they're going to be out. They're not doing, but like you said, they're already doing a lot of it. Put in place, it's actually just tailoring it.
That's the idea of that role matching, that qualification.
Yeah.
To, you know, if that role matches, then the off the job hours come naturally. You know,
Yeah.
And it's all about the big thing I say to my learners is what have you learned? What have you done? You know, what have you done? What have you learned? And how is it going to benefit you within your role, within your organisation, or towards your apprenticeship? And anything that gives you sort of an extra skill, knowledge, or behaviour is part of off the job hours.
Yeah.
This could be off the job hours if they wanted to watch this video.
Absolutely. The big thing
We
at
are
the
going
minute.
to be adding this to the introductory.
Welcome, absolutely. So
Podcasts are going to be part of the welcome.
you've been given free off the job hours, guys. Feel privileged.
Search up level 4 employability practitioner on TikTok.
Absolutely.
Scroll away.
So we've kind of looked at it from quite heavily from a learner's point of view. Obviously, we've touched on kind of the industries we worked in. It'd be kind of nice to talk about the benefits for employers if they're looking to put obviously some of their staff on this apprenticeship, and kind of why it's a good route for them for upskilling their team.
Future-proof the business. Take it away, Jessica.
Future-proof, I like that.
It's like an advert.
Yeah.
So I think from some of the businesses that I'm currently working with, so for example, we're working with a charity in the Lake District, and they have a small, quite a large, I suppose, case study. They've got a small caseload of participants that they look after, but currently the participants they've not been in education.
Right. Yeah.
They're mainly neat learners, and they are coming from backgrounds that, you know, they've either been different walks of life. They've been in that, perhaps been in care, things like that.
Mm-hmm.
They've not had that structure at all, and the staff members that I've been talking with and doing their interviews, it's so lovely, and I do hope, like, when I'm going to be involved in the reviews and things, that it'll be nice to see how they're finding it, because they've been doing the job role, they've just not had the tools and equipment to put in place, and they're wanting to get these young people into employment, so the business is wanting to put all their staff on the level 4, so they're doing a couple a month. And starting slowly because of the off the job hours. They're wanting to stagger the start, so they can be having a bit of a mentor situation within the business, but it's going to be helping those young people in the long run.
And have that opportunity as well, because obviously it's a great opportunity for them. Something you mentioned there about mentor, that's something that is quite heavily pushed within apprenticeships. It's not necessarily got to be your line manager or your boss, just somebody that you can look to for advice within the company. Is that something that we promote with ours?
Absolutely. I've actually got 2 learners that are just coming up to their employee assessment within employability, and they have been through thick and thin together a lot as part of this, this qualification. We regularly do group sessions, and it's quite clear how much they genuinely do care about each other's learning, which it then creates that all comfortable environment to learn. And if something I'm saying, because believe it or not, even skills coaches can't always get everything across, we don't know everything. One of the other learners might actually just say, no, he's trying to say X, Y, and Z, and this is how we use that. And then you actually see the whole energy shift in that session, and it's amazing. But yeah, we promote having that mentor, and again, it generally is the line manager, as a lot of the learners I have in particular are alone in their office doing that apprenticeship. Whereas I do genuinely believe the more people you have doing that qualification, they can bounce off each other, they can get ideas. Again, if we set a challenge to do, we might ask to record a session, it gives them an extra opportunity to do role playing together. And again, they've got that permanent source of support. Sometimes they might not feel entirely comfortable to come to me directly, especially at the beginning of the relationship. Whereas if they've got that person and they're both up not getting it, they think actually it might not be such a silly question, which nothing is ever a silly question. But
of course, but it's making that relationship and obviously feeling comfortable. So moving back to the employers, because I feel like we need to touch more on that. What advice would you give to an employer who are thinking about enrolling the staff? For example, how can they ensure that them as the employer and their staff as the learner gets the most out of the apprenticeship? Some of the key things that they need to keep in mind.
Like Ryan said, with all of our apprenticeships we link, and it's from us as a training provider, the learner, and then the employer. When the employer begins, for the first part of that initial step is, like I said, the interview process with myself, checking the information and guidance is correct course, but also we do the insight sessions with the employers as a whole. So insight sessions are a great way for any business that wants to pop on to any of our qualifications to check that it's the right programme for their team that they're thinking of putting on. So it will be led, I'm usually on there as well, but it will be led by one of our skills coaches who specialises in that subject, and they'll go through the qualification, how it works, how it's going to benefit them and their team, and then hopefully that then leads for them to feel quite comfortable to progress on to the next steps. When the learning is taking place, usually we keep, from our side of things, we keep in touch with the companies just to make sure that they're happy. We go through, we also are at the moment creating, quite excited, I know our lovely Sophie is very excited about it as well, but we are doing a dash where it'll include each learner that you've got on there and what percentage they're on, where they're up to, how many learners they've got, where are they up to if they've passed their EPA, what they've progressed onto, anything. And again, that bit of information that you will get monthly, that can be bespoke made. So if you are a business that wants to ask certain things and only wants that information, we can change it and add that on. So that is another nice little thing that we are adding on to our review process.
Giving them a very clear overview of what they want to know. Just pushing back to some of those insight sessions, I'd be quite obviously interested to know what some of the most frequently asked questions are from employers.
Off the job is usually how it, I just think the wording's daunting.
Yeah.
But if they've never had an apprentice before, that is quite a daunting part of it, how they fit it in. What have they got to provide? What have they got to do as an employer? I find generally how long apprenticeships are, things like that. What else do we get asked?
can they finish early?
Yes, can they finish early?
Of course they can, because as long as they've been on programme for 12 months and a day, we can get them into endpoint assessment if they're ready for that point. But the important thing is being ready. And again, by having that employer's support, it is doable.
thank you so much for your time today, and it's been a great insight into what an apprenticeship is, the kind of job roles and progression that you can have within specific industries, but also how we bespoke those apprenticeships for employers and learners. We've looked into gateway, endpoint assessment, functional skills, mentor, off-the-job hours, and I hope that this has been helpful to those who are maybe thinking about taking on an apprenticeship in general, or maybe those who are interested in the employability practitioner. If you are, you might have the pleasure of maybe working with Ryan, working with Jess, not maybe working with me, but seeing my face more, I don't know. And if you would like to ask more questions or come along, we are having an insight session on the 1st of November, like Jess discussed. So if you do have anything you'd like to know more about, if you'd like to discuss with Jess how it will benefit your business in particular, feel free to log on. I will share it in the link below or above, depending on what platform we're on. So yes, thank you very much for your time today. I hope this has been a good session for our listeners, and stay tuned for next time. Thank you very much. Thank you.
Thank you for having me. Pleasure.